For those answers, Director Wray. So next question is on cybersecurity, and you've also been a fairly prominent thought leader on that topic since your time as director. So given the threat from countries like Russia and China and other adversaries of the United States, where do you see that cyber threat going in? And once again, how has the FBI in your time as director scaled up to meet the cyber challenge?
So a lot to say on this, I guess. Let me think about a few key points. So you mentioned Russia. There's a few specific things we're very concerned about Russia. One is the same kind of, their intelligence services have been spying on the U.S. for years, and through cyber means, among other things. And so the same kind of cyber access that enables them to spy on a network, if they were to decide, if Putin were to decide that his goals are different, could use that same access to engage in a destructive attack, which could be much more significant. We're also concerned about what we call spillover. The Russians have the same kind of recklessness towards civilian life that they've shown on the battlefield in the Ukraine. They're showing in cyberspace. They did an attack, a cyber attack called NotPetya against, ironically, the Ukraine in 2017. But it was designed to do one thing, which is basically to destroy any system it came into contact with, and it quickly spiraled out of control, costing the world something like $10 billion in damages, and largely shut down all kinds of global logistics chains and everything else. So the spillover effect is significant. We're concerned about the Russians' propensity to work with cyber criminals. They provide, at the very least, safe haven, if not actual partnership with cyber criminals, and so those people are an issue. So you got that. You mentioned China. China has a bigger hacking program than that of every other major nation combined. And the Chinese government has stolen more of Americans' personal and corporate data than that of every nation, big or small, combined. So that is a significant challenge. There's also countries like Iran, North Korea, who can't be underestimated in this arena. What we're seeing more and more is what we call a blended threat, which is the line between what's a nation state engaging in malicious cyber activity and cyber criminal activity have kind of merged together, because you'll have, for example, governments like Russia, China, Iran, hiring cyber hackers, basically mercenaries, to do their work, cyber criminals to do their work for them. You'll also see on the other side intelligence officers, cyber intelligence officers for some of these countries moonlighting to make money on the side, so engaging in cyber criminal activity. And then you see these governments using cyber criminal tools to do their work because they think it will obfuscate or hide whose fingerprints are on it. So there's a blending of the threat that gets more troubling. What are we doing about it? We are increasingly focused on speed and trying to get out to victims as quickly as possible. We're very proud of the fact that pretty much anywhere in the country we can have a technically trained agent on that company or school's doorstep within about an hour or so to help, while at the same time pursuing what we call attribution, which is essentially whodunit. And that's important because if you don't attribute who's behind the cyber attack, then you can't impose consequences. And if you can't impose consequences, you're never going to deter it. So that's a change. We're also doing more and more what we call joint sequenced operations, so working with the rest of the intelligence community, the military, foreign partners, and the private sector to do operations where we're all bringing our tools to maximize impact. So take something like ransomware. We're going after not just the actors and the actors around them, but we're going after the bad guys' infrastructure. So there are ways where we can degrade or disrupt or dismantle their servers, we're hitting them in their tools. And third, we're going after their money, their cryptocurrency. Increasingly, we're getting better at being able to claw back or seize their money. So now you're hitting them where it hurts. So we're doing more things like that. Ultimately, we need, which is why I'm glad to be at a premier university, we need more and more cyber talent in the mission. And I'll put in a plug to anybody who's from that world. You know, we may not be able to compete on pay, but we're getting better on that. But we can definitely compete on mission. And more importantly, if you want to go up against the worst or the most sophisticated adversaries and do stuff to them that you can't do in the private sector, because it's probably criminal if you did it in the private sector. If you do it with us, you can do it. So we think we have something pretty good to offer to people. In that,
well, I will say, I do teach a class on cybersecurity here, and I have constantly reminded people about, you know, thinking about the FBI as a place to go to kind of leverage those skills and insights on cyber issues. So with that, let me pass the mic over to my colleague Joey Rody.